Choice Hotels get you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Let's get real close to hear the maximum sizzle of Comfort Inn's free hot breakfast. Maximized. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
This is Cop Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. I'm Kevin Schroeder, your host. I'm here with my co-host, Captain Ed Mehmet.
Hello, WABC listeners and YouTube viewers. Here we are again with a fascinating guest who has a lot to talk about.
Today's guest on Cop Talk is Joe Cirillo. Joe is an NYPD vet, Korean War vet. He's an actor, an author, amongst many other things. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
So, Joe, why don't you tell everyone about your background?
Well, like you said, I'm a Korean War veteran, right? Combat veteran. Once I left the Army, I went into the post office. I worked in the Grand Central Station. I actually had the registry window from midnight to 8 a.m., so I hated that job. I took the test over to be a carrier, then I became a carrier. After several years, a few of my friends were taking the cop test, and they said, "Joe, why don't you take the test?" I said, "No, I don't want to be a cop." They says, "No, take the test, take the test." I took the test. I was the only one that passed. And I went on in 1957. I went to the 20th precinct, and I spent 17 years there. And they pulled me down to headquarters, where I was doing a lot of artwork. I was working for the commissioner, all the chiefs. I did all their chart work, graphic work, posters for subways, things like that. Prior to that, I was when I was in the 20th precinct, they knew I had an artist background. So they flew me down to police headquarters, where actually it was the BCI. And he said it was starting something new where they bring people in that were either assaulted or whatever and describe the person and put the drawing in the newspapers, the composite drawing. So I did that. I was probably the first person. I was there for about 2 weeks. And then the inspector, his name was Cashman, I remember that. He said, "We're starting the unit. I'd like you to join." And I said, "No, I'd rather go back to my command." Then I went back to my command, and I didn't stay. But the fellas that did take the job, all of them became lieutenants because they had a lot of time to study.
Right.
I eventually became an actor, so I didn't want to be a sergeant or boss, so I can get my time off so I can work in movies. So that's going up to the police department.
So where are you originally from? Brooklyn, or?
What's that?
Where were you born and raised?
Oh, originally from the Bronx. I actually grew up in the 4-0 precinct.
4-0 precinct.
Mott Haven area.
Okay. And you worked in the 2-0 precinct as a police officer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you do sketches when you were an artist? Did you do some sketches for the
Yes.
purpose?
Well, what happened was when I was in the 2-0, again, they found out I was an artist, so they brought me into the station house. They had me doing cartography. I was doing actually precinct maps. And then I was doing all kinds of poster work, things like that. And eventually they sent me down, like I said, to headquarters to do something. And then they transferred me, which I didn't want to go, but eventually turned out to be a good job.
Right. And how did you get into acting?
Acting, when I was in the 2-0 precinct, I was assigned to the Museum of Natural History. Mm-hmm. And across the street from my beat, my post, was a big building called the Beersford Apartments. And in that apartment house, all movie stars, Stephen Eady, Laura Nero, Red Buttons, Phil Silvers, Alan Funt, Mike Nichols. But anyway, I was the cop, and the entrance to that building was in a bus stop. So every so often I'd walk by and there'd be a limousine with waiting for one of the celebrities, and I told them, "Don't move, it's okay." So they all liked me, and I became friends with most of the people in the building that knew me. I eventually became very good friends with Mike Nichols, producer, director. And one day he said to me, "Joe, how would you like to be in the movies?" And I said, "I'm not an actor." He says, "Don't worry, we'll make you one." And what he did was call Paramount Pictures. They sent me down for an interview. I was interviewed by a woman, a casting director. I think her name was Eastman. Can't remember her first name. But she said to me, "What makes you think you can act?" I said, "I'm a cop. We're the best actors in the world. We're doctors. We're lawyers." And she said, "You're right." And they gave me a small role in The Godfather. And that's how I got started my movie career.
Wow. And now, are you still acting today?
They want me to act. What I'm doing, I write a lot. I do write a lot. I have a lot of screenplays. I wrote 2 musicals. I'm continuously writing. I write articles for newspapers, articles for magazines. Yeah, but they want me to act. I was told just recently they want me in one movie. They said they want to bring me out of retirement. And also from my role in Ghostbusters, they send me all over to different cities, and it's all expenses paid too, where I sign autographs from my role, as the police officer or the captain.
Oh, for appearances, yeah.
Pencil neck, right? and so that's what I'm doing today. I'm actually going around to different cities where I sign autographs and sell my book and so on. Yes.
Hey, Joe, you left out Telly Savalas and the Kojak series. And the reason why I'm so interested in that is because I was the commanding officer of the 9th Precinct Detective Squad for 3 years.
Right.
And that's where the series was filmed on the outside, correct?
Yes, that was actually supposedly the station house where Kojak worked. Right. You're correct. Yes. And how that came about, while I was working in headquarters and acting in 1976, the Kojak series, which was shot in California, decided to come to New York and spend 1 full year shooting in New York. Telly Savalas at that time was I think it was the #1 actor in the world. So the producers went to police headquarters. They spoke with the commissioner, and they said, "We need a man who's a police officer that could be Telly's security bodyguard and also have some knowledge about movies." And he said, "We got the right guy for you," and they appointed me. So I ended up with Telly Savalas for a whole year in New York. I got to know his family. We became good friends. And after that, when we were ready I think the last show, he said to me, "Joe, when can you retire?" I said, "I can retire in 2 months." He said, "You come out to California, you got a job." I went out to California when I retired, and the rest is history. I was with him. I was with the Kojak series. I was one of the technical advisors, and I did about maybe 15 or 16 roles in the show.
Now, how did you get the gig for Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters, when that came up, most of it was I think, cast in California. And the New York sequence, the casting director in New York called me up. And she says, "I have a role for you, Joe." I said, "What is?" She says, It's a role in Ghostbusters." So I didn't have to read for it or anything. I did take the role. I thought maybe it was close to an extra role where, a small role.
Right.
And it ended up becoming, for some reason, around the world, they love my line in the show. And to this day, I'm still traveling all over, just repeating that line. And
why don't you repeat it now for our audience?
You do your job, pencil neck. Don't tell me how to do mine.
I love
that was it. And it's crazy. Yeah. We had the 40th anniversary of Ghostbusters in New York this past summer. Oh, and wow. Over 1,000 people attended. And I got texts from United Kingdom, from Ukraine, from Italy, people who said they wanted to meet me. They were coming to New York, and they actually did show up in New York. And one of them was a constable from the United Kingdom. He actually gave me a shield and a hat device. And then the others all came, and everybody gave me different things. I signed autographs for 6 hours, sold my books, and they raised, not just from my appearance, but they raised $42,000 for the Tunnel to Towers.
Oh, great. Awesome. Great organization.
And that's what I do now. They fly me all over. I go to different cities. And recently, again, I was in Sioux City, Iowa, for another Ghostbuster thing. And the police chief there actually showed me around police headquarters. We became friends. And he gave me a hat device and a shield. The next day, the very next day at the convention center, the mayor came and he had a proclamation, Joe Cirillo Day in Sioux City, Iowa.
Wow.
So it's amazing.
Yeah.
I've been in Buffalo twice. But go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I just was going to say, so what other, besides Ghostbusters and Kojak, any other films you've been in?
Oh, I started with The Godfather.
Oh, okay. Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
Okay. That was the original where I said about Mike Nichols, and they gave me a small role. And when I went in, I did my role, and I was in this wedding scene. And what happened when the movie came out in 72, I believe it was, my scene wasn't in it. I said, what's going on? So I went to Paramount Pictures, and I spoke to them, and they says, Joe, they shot so much film that if they put it all together, the movie would have been over 6 hours long. So that's why your scene was eliminated. And they gave me photos of my scene. Now, the best part, in 1973, I got a residual check for Godfather, almost the same amount I made. And I'm not in, like I said, my scene is not in the movie. I've been getting checks every month since 1973
awesome.
from Godfather.
That's
awesome.
great. Acting is a good
Yeah,
career.
incredible. Yes, incredible. And the same thing with Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters, just recently I got a check for over $400.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so it's amazing, amazing.
This National Foster Care Month, Marine Toys for Tots is providing hope to children who need it most. Staff Sergeant James Caldwell, who grew up in foster care himself, shares that while handing out gifts at a Toys for Tots distribution event, a little girl looked up at him, reached into her bag, pulled out a stuffed animal and said, "Someone needs to make sure you get a toy too." That simple gesture embodies the heart of Marine Toys for Tots, ensuring every child, including those in foster care, experiences the kindness that can transform their future. Visit toysfortots.org today.
Every idea starts with a problem. Warby Parker's was simple. Glasses are too expensive. So they set out to change that. By designing glasses in-house and selling directly to customers, they're able to offer prescription eyewear that's expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Warby Parker glasses are made from premium materials like impact-resistant polycarbonate and custom acetate. And they start at just $95, including prescription lenses. Get glasses made from the good stuff. Stop by a Warby Parker store near you.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
That's great. Captain?
Joe, in your bio, you mentioned two retired detectives. One is deceased, Randy Jurgensen and Detective Jerry Giorgio. Now, I knew Jerry quite well because Jerry, at the time, was the Detectives Endowment Association Manhattan trustee.
Yes.
And I was working in Manhattan. In fact, my office was upstairs in the 20th precinct. I'm sure I was there when you were there. So anyway, Randy, as you know, wrote that book, Circle of Six.
Yes, of course.
That was about the Harlem Mosque incident where the cop Cardillo was killed.
Yes.
Also, Randy, I read his book. He was a combat veteran like you.
Yes,
and
yes.
he was on Pork Chop Hill, and his helmet. I don't know if you're aware of this. Supposedly, the helmet that he wore is at West Point. There's a picture of it in his book.
Yes, I know. Yes.
Okay, and
Randy and I still see each other every week. I mean, we're the best of friends.
right now, what's interesting is Mario Biaggi, the famous Mario Biaggi.
Yes.
He was a post carrier from the Bronx. So
I know.
I thought that was interesting. You know,
I knew Mario also. In fact, when we were in the police department, we did calendars, and they had artists draw famous cops, famous bosses, whatever. And my assignment was to do Mario Biaggi, which I did, and I presented him with the calendar. And that was when he was was congressman or something. Yeah, he was in office at the time.
Right. He was he was the second New York City police officer to go to Congress.
Yes.
The first guy was retired Inspector Freddie Heineman. Can you tell us a good story about the PD, an acting story regarding the police department, the New York City Police Department?
What do you want me to say now?
Do you have a good story to tell us about the police department, regarding your acting? Did you have any such roles?
Almost every role I did, not every role, but I did a lot of police work. I acted as a police officer. I was in the Kojak series, like I said, and then eventually, when that ended, they started a new series called I Shied with Joe Don Baker as the lead, and I was the co-star. So I worked that was another year. At the end of the year, he didn't want to do it. I'm talking about Joe Don Baker. He didn't want to work 15 hours a day, so the show was canceled. But it was great reviews, and it was all about the NYPD.
Yeah, I remember that program. Are you getting residuals from that, or it's only from the movie industry?
No, yeah, that's another one. I'm glad you brought that up. I remember my daughter was getting married in 1980, and my son worked in the catering hall. So we got a break. At that time, my daughter's wedding was costing me $17,000. I said, where's this money going to come from? Thank God, I got a residual check from iShide for $8,000. And then I think a week later, another $9,000. So I got the whole $17,000 from residuals from iShide.
Awesome.
But I haven't received one in many, many years, so it's not playing anywhere.
Well, that's what you call serendipity. True. But do you have a good story? Any particular role or acting job that you had regarding the police department?
What about Joe? The time you were on the job, you came on in '57, correct?
Yes.
And when did you retire?
77.
Okay, you did 20, right? 20 and out.
Yeah.
So, 57 to 77, a lot of different time back then than today, right? So you have a good story that still sticks in your mind that you tell sometimes over dinner?
Well, recently, not that I was really that involved, but it's something I like to talk about. While I was on patrol in a radio car, we got a call that there was a past burglary, 1039 at the Museum of Natural History. And this was like 1 or 2 in the morning. Went over there and we saw the guard in the evening. And he said, I said, what's going on? He said, they broke some glass upstairs. Broke some glass? Let's go take a look. Went up. It was where they keep all the jewels. And what happened, they came in, they opened up the cases. They stole jewelry. The Star of India. I don't know if you recall that.
Yes, I do. Murph the Surf stole it.
Yes, the Star of India was taken by Murph the Surf. Right. And like I said, I was the first one there. So I called the sergeant. Then the sergeant called the detectives. Then the next thing you know, chief of detective, everybody was there. Okay. So I was there. Now, I was interviewed recently and I told them, I said, I was just checking on it and I read about Murph the Surf. And he said that he escaped by going on the ledge around the building. And when he left and got to the street, he said there were police cars all over the place. So apparently while I was there, he was on the ledge leaving. So that I thought that was an interesting story.
Yeah, very. Wow.
Yes, yes.
That story was in the newspapers for quite a while.
Yes, I know that was. But like I said, I think yeah, I read about it. I followed up on it. He was arrested. That it ended up 2 females were killed, and they recovered the Star of India. Yeah, it was a very interesting case. Very.
So, Joe, you had a security company?
Yes, I had my own security. What happened was when I was doing the eyeshine, I called my wife and told her that we were being canceled because while filming in California, my wife stayed in New York growing the kids.
Right.
And and I'm in California, but I was going home on weekends, but she hated California. So when we were told that the show was being canceled, I called her up and I said, honey, the show's canceled. I'm coming home. She said, thank God. I said, okay. So now while we're on the set one day, the head of casting from Universal came on and he said, I'm looking for Joe Cirillo. Joe Cirillo, here I am. And Joe Don Baker and the other stars came over and he said, I've got 2 pilots for you. I said, 2 pilots. And Joe Don Baker said, well, this is your big break, Joe. I said, I told my wife I'm going home. I got to go home. They says, no, this is your big break. I said, let me call my wife. So got on the phone, called my wife, and I told her what was going on. And dead silence. And she said, you come home or else. Click. And that was it. I gave it up, came back to New York. So I started a security company, which was called Film World Security, Inc. And what we did was all movie sets, trucks left overnight, we guarded them. And whenever there was a big star, we needed a security person to stay with the big star. So naturally, when it was a big star, I took the first shot at it. I usually was with them, and then when I felt comfortable, I would get someone else to take my spot because I had to get back to my office. But I've been with everyone. We've had Sinatra, De Niro, Pacino, you name them. I've probably been with them, and I write about them all in my book.
So how long did you have the security company for?
Oh, about 10 years.
Okay.
About 10 years. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but like I said, every big star that I've been with, a lot of them I befriended, and a lot of them, Tom Hanks was great. Telly, of course. I mean, Jackie Gleason. Like I said, many. And I put like I did. I got my book. I wrote my autobiography, and I tell stories about each one of them in my autobiography.
Right, Captain.
What's your opinion of the police department today, and how would you feel if you had to go back?
I probably would go back because I love the police department. But I honestly feel it's not like when we were cops. I know you were a captain. You know what it's all about. You were at the same time period, I believe. I went on 57. I think you came a little after me.
I went on 59, January 59.
Yeah, right. So you know what we went through. We had nothing. We had no vests. We had no
radios.
No radio.
Yeah. So today, I would really advise against it because of what's going on. But like I said, probably myself, Randy Jurgensen, I'm sure we jump right back in if we had to.
Do you remember that if you were on vacation and it was election day, you had to come back in the middle of your vacation? Do you remember that?
Yes.
You tell the younger kids today, they can't believe it.
Yeah,
I'll tell you an interesting story. One of the guys I worked with was in Spain. He was a single guy, went to Spain on vacation.
Right.
And the election day came up during the middle of his vacation. So he intended to come back, but he got snowed in, and he couldn't leave. So he calls the station house, and he said, I'm going to be late. I'm in Spain. So what happened was everybody covered for him at the post, but then an inspector shows up, and he said, where's Donilon? The guy's name was Artie Donilon. And nobody could produce Donilon. So Donilon wound up with charges and specifications. That's what the job was like then.
Wow.
We had a lot of things to deal with that these kids today know nothing about.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you remember? I mean, we couldn't get a day off. In fact, we were never paid overtime. We used to get back the time in the in the vacation time and so on. But we never made the money like they make
And
today.
that was at the commanding officer's discretion. The lost
Right.
time. Remember
right.
that?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
We were like serfs.
Incredible. Yes. Yes.
But you know what? The job ran very well at the time. Everybody knew what to do. You could count on one another, and things were good. Today, it's just different. I couldn't go back. I think I'd commit suicide if I had to go back.
It's incredible, the camaraderie we had. I mean, totally different from today. I mean, I'm sure the cops today are all good and friendly towards each other. You remember we had the Guardians, we had the Colombians, we had the Emerald Society, and we were all one group. It didn't make any difference what you were. And then all of a sudden it sort of changed, groups went off on the side, and I think it's still that way today. It's not like the camaraderie we had.
Well, the police department went woke.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your new book?
Oh, yes. In fact, this is it. An offer I couldn't refuse. On the back, there's Telly and me. And it actually starts when I was a little boy, goes through my whole life, from a little boy to school, to the Army, to the police department, to the security company, right till present day. It goes right up to today. I included everything. It's available on Amazon and Kindle, and it's doing very well. And everywhere I go, when I'm invited, I sell my book, also photos and so on, things like that.
What is the title?
Title, An Offer I Couldn't Refuse.
That's a catchy
one. From
one.
the NYPD to Hollywood.
I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah, and the reason I named it that was Mike Nichols who got me the first interview, which was an offer which I couldn't refuse. So that was why I titled it. And it was from The Godfather. So that was the first movie I was in. And the second refusal why I couldn't refuse was Telly telling me to go to California. So that's two reasons for the title.
You should say it's, from the NYPD career via the 20 precinct. Right? That's where your acting career and your security company started, right?
Yes,
Pretty
exactly.
Pretty much, yeah. It's very similar.
With my security company, when I've been with, like I said, many big stars, became friends with them. I never really had any incidents where I actually had to protect them. It's always that I was with them, that I could walk with them and talk with them, and no one would come up and bother us. And I'm not a big guy, but for some reason they respected that. I never had a problem. I've been with, like, Woody Allen. I remember being with Woody Allen, walk on the street with him. He wanted to stay behind, but nobody bothered him, and I never had a problem. Thank God. I actually never ever had a single problem with a celebrity.
Right, that's good.
Did you know Woody Allen's real name?
Oh, I think I heard it. I'm not sure.
Alan Konigsberg.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I read that.
He was
Heard it. Yeah.
a Brooklyn guy, and his next door neighbor was a cop who I worked with. They used to shoot marbles together.
Well, he was, how would you put it? I hate to use the word weird, but he was so different from other directors and so on. Yeah. And I remember when we were doing the movie where we had to, he was going to cast it, and we set up on Broadway. The building was where that smoke ring used to come out on Broadway. I think it was 46th Street. And they had a line around the corner for people to go up to see him. What he did was he had to set up a desk and then cardboard boxes behind me. and he was behind me with the cat behind the cardboard boxes. And as the actors came up, he would say, yeah, put the picture on the right side, put the picture on the left side. He wouldn't face anyone. I don't know why. And then later on, even later on, I remember going to read for a role with him. And he apparently knew me because I did a lot of security. And it was on 59th Street. I remember going, I rang the bell and the door opened. And he was at the top of the stairs. He says, stay there. He says, okay, you can leave. And that was the audition. I never got called for it, though. But that's what I'm saying. He was kind of different from other directors, producers.
Yeah. Yep.
What's in your future?
My future? I'm 93 years old. My future's good. My future's good.
God bless you.
Yeah, I keep active. They say I don't look my age. In fact, I'm going to read the last line from my book. The last line in my book is, I am so busy, I can't find time to grow old. That's the very last line in my book. So I keep myself active. I belong to many law enforcement agencies. I go to meetings. I'm going to the 1013 meeting tomorrow evening. I belong to other organizations. I'm a trustee on a Long Island Museum project, and I just had a big meeting there. In fact, 2 meetings in one night. I was at that and another Italian organization. So I keep myself active. That's what I do.
Are you a member of the RDNY, Retired Detectives of New York?
I'm not a member, no.
Oh,
no.
You have to sign up. It's a great organization.
Well, I never was a detective.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's okay. They'll take your dues money.
We'll send you a card every year.
Yes.
So tell everyone how they could, purchase your book. Is it on Amazon? How could they purchase your book?
Oh, yes. My book is on Amazon and it's on Kindle, so anybody can purchase it if they want. I think the price is $15.99. I think that's what it is. I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah, it's available. And I'm sure they'll find it very interesting. So far, I mean, every report I've got on it, and everyone that's called me or texted me or emailed me said they love the book. So I'm publishing it. It was published, and I'm trying to get it out there. But I really feel that the people will enjoy reading it. It's because, like I said, it's my life story from little boy to present day.
Joe, going back to Randy Jurgensen, in your bio, you said that he was on Pork Chop Hill, which was, if you remember, there was a movie made.
Oh, yes.
And in the movie, Gregory Peck stars.
Yes.
And you said that your unit relieved Randy from.
That's another story.
But you never met on Pork Chop Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, tell us that story.
No, that's true. No, what happened there? Randy and I worked in the movies together since the 1970s, and we became very good friends. One day we just met. We were just talking, and he started to talk about Korea, and I said, "Korea." I said, "You were in Korea?" I said, "I was there too." And then we started talking. And then he said he was on Pork Chop Hill. I said, "I was on Pork Chop Hill. We relieved." And he said, "That was my unit." So we ended up being in Korea at the same time, where my group relieved his group, and we never knew this. It was just, we found this out after years of knowing each other, believe it or not. Yes.
Was the movie accurate?
Was the movie out then?
No. Was it accurate in terms of what you experienced up there?
I haven't seen it in a long time, but it was pretty accurate. You got to remember now, Randy, I believe, was wounded on Pork Chop Hill. So he really went through the heavy stuff. We came up and relieved them. So I think Randy would know more about the movie, whether it was, accurate or not, than I would. I mean, from what I saw, it looked pretty good. But like I said, I wasn't in the heavy combat like he was.
All right. There was a famous line in the movie when they were at the peace negotiations between the Koreans and the U.S., they were arguing over the value of pork chop hill, and it had no strategic value. So the American representative in the movie, he said, its value is that it has no value. In other words, it was a symbol of American will to stay on regardless of the casualties. I thought it was a great movie. And,
yeah, like I said, I haven't seen it in many years, but I remember that I did enjoy the movie. But like I said, as far as accuracy, what I saw looked pretty good. So, yeah.
Well, and today is Veterans Day, so we have to honor you for your duty in the past.
Right.
Thank you for your service.
And all other veterans.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people will be calling today.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Joe, anything else you'd like to promote? I have this opportunity. Anything, any books or events?
Let me just say this. Here's my dream, so you'll know what my dream is.
Sure.
I have 12 screenplays that I haven't put out there. I have 2 musicals that I wrote that I'm involved in, where I wrote 20 songs, 30 songs for each musical, and I can't get it to an agent that would at least listen to my music or read one of my screenplays. So that's my dream right now. That's what I'm trying to do. I tried getting an agent and so on. It's difficult. But hopefully that's what will happen. And here's the best part. All this time from 1972 to present day, all the monies I've made and any role I had, I never paid an agent 10%. I got it all myself.
That's great. That's great.
I can't get this thing going.
Well,
that's what I would love.
Like
Joe,
word of mouth.
Joe, I might be able to help you because my cousin is David Mamet, the famous playwright and movie producer. And when I retired, he asked me what I was going to do, and I said, I don't know. So he said, why don't you write a book? I said, what would the title be? And he said, 40 Years a Cop. But it had to be salacious because everything he does is salacious. So he set me up with an agent, and I didn't realize that it's almost impossible to see an agent unless you have someone recommend you. So you're right. I know it. So anyway,
yes.
So there you go. It's going to hook you up.
So anyway, when I went to see the agent, he said, you have to put down your life story on one page. I said, what are you, crazy? How am I going to do that? And he said to me,
true.
He says, think of the most beautiful, desirable woman you would want to be with if you did this. And that's what I did. I got it down on one page. Amazing. But I never got to write the book. But anyway, I'll contact him and I'll see if he can help
definitely.
you.
I would love it. I would love it.
So we'll talk after the show.
I write in different genres. I have a horror story, a lot of police stories. I have a love story. I have a whodunit. I've got 12 screenplays that I wrote. And the 2 musicals. So one of the musicals that I wrote, which... do you remember the movie Marty?
Yes, everybody. That
with Ernest Borgnine.
Yes.
Well, there was an article in the paper about me being a musical cop and so on, and an A&R man from MGM came over to my post and he started talking to me. He said, I read about you in the papers. He said, I thought it would be interesting if I got a New York City cop and a minister in Chappaqua, New York, to get together to write a Broadway musical. I said, what? So he introduced me to this minister up in Chappaqua. I went up there and we started discussing what we might be able to do. So we came up with the movie Marty. And we wrote that into a musical, and I wrote 30 songs for that. And what happened was we later went to a producer, I believe his name was Josephson, and we started to sing one song, and he went out to a secretary. I don't want to be disturbed. We sang 30 songs for him for the show. He said it was fantastic. Then he hit us with the big thing. He said, "Did you get permission from Patty Chayefsky?" I says, "Patty Chayefsky? No. Well, you can't do this without his permission." So now the thing was we had to get Patty Chayefsky. I had everyone go to him, including Mike Nichols. He wouldn't do it because he said it was an Academy Award winner, and if it went off as a flop, it'll be remembered as a flop. So we couldn't get it. I met Patty Chayefsky because my next door neighbor, when I was living in the Bronx, was his first cousin. So he said to me, "I'll talk to Patty. I'll take him out to lunch, and I'll talk to him about doing the show." He went to Patty, and Patty's, again, refused. Patty passed away. We went to his widow. She wouldn't let it go neither. So we forgot about it. It did come out. The children gave it to someone, a Broadway producer, and it was, I believe, up either New Haven or Boston, and it was a flop. So, and here I still have this musical, not anymore, but I have all the music and everything. And I was saying, wow, that was my big shot. Couldn't do it, but they liked it. But I have one now, like I said, it's called Bagels and Luck, and it's about a Jewish family growing up in 1939 in the Bronx. That's the musical that's available right now.
Well, David might be very interested. By the way, we had David on about a year ago. If you go to the Cop Talk website and you find him and listen to his interview, it was hilarious. So I would suggest you do that, and then I will talk to you about it, and then I'll contact him and see what he can do in terms of.
I would love it. I would love it. Thank you so much for that. Yeah,
that's great. I get 10%. I did that introduction.
Kevin gets 10%.
There you go.
Well, I can give you more. I'll give you 20%.
You know, Joe. I was a cop and a detective in Midtown North Precinct, which was the next door neighbor to the 2O precinct.
Right,
and I was fortunate enough, just like yourself, to meet a lot of great people from all over the world, including many celebrities that I wound up working for and still do.
Yes.
So I totally get it, and we were blessed to have that opportunity. You know, but anyway, Cap.
Well, Joe, I think this was a great interview. I didn't realize how talented you are. I mean, you were all over the place. A postman, a cop,
I'm
an
blessed.
artist.
I'm blessed.
An artist, a composer, an author. What's left?
I did modeling too.
Great.
Yeah, I touched every base. I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed. Believe me.
So, Joe, I have to get you invited this year, December 20th at the Mandarin Hotel. Stevie Van Zandt, you know Stevie Van Zandt?
Oh, yes, I know.
Good friend of mine. We have a foundation, him and I. It's called Little Stevens Policeman's Ball. And every year we have an event and we raise money for the widows and children of the Detective
I would
Endowment
love to
Association.
come. I would definitely love to
come. And also
the
Arms Wide Open, Merritt Riley's foundation with Danny Sprague, with law enforcement personnel with children who are special needs. It's a great foundation, great organization. I'll make sure you get an invite this year. It's December 20th at the Mandarin Hotel. But thank you for being our guest today, Joe. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being here.
And by the way, Steve Van Zandt was our very first Cop Talk interview. So you might listen to him.
Yes, right. Episode 3, 4, 5, somewhere there.
No, I think it was number 1.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's how long it's been.
It's been over a year. And my cousin, I think, was like number 3 or 4. So we've done almost 100 of these interviews. So if you go down the list, you'll see. Okay, but this is a great interview, and we're very proud of it.
Let me just one thing. What they do, like going to your foundation and so on, they have me in my police uniform, the captain's, which I never was, captain's uniform, that the role I portrayed in Ghostbusters. That's what I wear at all these conventions. I don't know if you want me to do that on that evening.
Oh, okay. That sounds great. We'll definitely chat about that. That's a great idea.
That's the way they recognize me right away.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
I put together
That'd be great.
A captain's uniform. Yeah, I have a shield, everything. So
that'd be great.
That's what I do. All right, great. I would love to do it.
All right. Joe Cirillo, thank you so much for being our guest today on Cop Talk. Folks, if you
thank
like,
you.
Thank
you
you.
Gentlemen are great. Thank you so much.
And don't hang up. Everyone, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to Cop Talk. You could also follow us on X at Cop Talk WABC. That's at Cop Talk WABC. And also, Captain.
And also on YouTube, so you can actually see us
Yeah, you can actually see what we look like.
See what we look like.
Okay. But until then, God bless you. God bless military throughout the country, especially today on Veterans Day and every other
Today's
day.
Veterans Day. Yes.
God bless law enforcement throughout the world, and God bless America. Until next time, be safe.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
God bless America.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.